And welcome back to Watches Tonight here on Watchbox Studios. Thank you for joining me, folks. We've got a fun show in store tonight. We talk Rolex Explorer 2 alternatives, modular movements and companies that make great ones, a few of my favorite pilots' watches, and drivers' watches that aren't but really work well all the same. Okay, I want to emphasize that there is no better place than thewatchbox.com to buy, trade, and sell your luxury watches 24 hours a day and globally. We are now everywhere. Also, want to remind you that my next watch giveaway will start tomorrow on Watches Live. This time, I'm giving away a mechanical Oris Arctics Audi Sport GMT. I picked this one myself from amongst the possibilities. A wonderful piece for those who are interested in watches, interested in cars, interested in motorsports, or just want a cool timepiece on their wrists. $2,500 retail value. We're going to give that away. All right, batting practice. Warming up your monitor with your pitches and my cuts tonight. Bart Y asks, Tim, what are good alternatives to the Rolex Explorer 2? So this is the 216570 you see right there. I have to be honest, most times people ask me, what are the alternatives to a Submariner, a GMT, a Daytona? This is a little bit different. So off the beaten path, but here's what we're replacing. $8,100 US MSRP. Steel, full steel bracelet, 42 millimeters, fixed bezel, automatic dual time, and 100 meters water resistant with lume. We're going to get as close as we can. There's the black dial version shown here, and then there is also the polar white dial version, which is the other option. So let's start out with the sub for the white dial Explorer 2. I'm going to nominate the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra GoodPlanet GMT. This is a 43 millimeter titanium dual time coaxial chronometer. It's the new Maytag standard. 43 millimeters, so it is a little bit bigger than the Explorer 2, but it's also in titanium. So it's going to fit about the same once everything shakes out. I'm also going to mention that there are some notable upgrades. You're going to pay more, but you're going to get more in some respects. 60-hour power reserve versus 48. Some exotic engineering thanks to the silicon hairspring and the tri-level coaxial escapement. You're getting a display case back that you don't get with the Rolex, and you're getting a little bit more water resistance as this one is 150 meters versus the Rolex is 100. Now, sacrifices. 43 millimeters, titanium or no, may be too great a sacrifice for some. That's a lot of wrist real estate. If you don't have it, this might not be an option. Also worth mentioning that you're going to get one less year of warranty, 4 from the Omega, and frankly, $2,700 plus. You're going to pay a premium for this one, as this is a $10,800 US watch. And frankly, some folks are going to find that's just a little too much for an Explorer 2 alternative, especially in Omega. But here's the thing. You know that in the real world, you're not going to pay that. So they're going to be a little bit closer to price parity. Now, sub for the Explorer 2 black dial. I'm going to nominate the 41 millimeter Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT SBGE 211 in stainless steel. Now, this is not a loomed dial, but in every other respect, this is a really good head-to-head matchup. Okay, 41 millimeter stainless steel full bracelet upgrades. You're getting a 72-hour power reserve versus the Rolex's 48. You're getting a power reserve scale on the dial. You're getting spring drive precision, so instead of the chronometer standard of -4, +6, or the Rolex superlative chronometer standard of -2, +2 per day, this is a watch accurate to 15 seconds a month. More? Well, yes, significantly less costly. $5,400 US. This is going to leave an awful lot in the can for a second watch, service down the line, or if you wish to accessorize with straps, you can go nuts with the money you're going to save over the Rolex. Sacrifices? Well, no loom. And truth be told, as well as this is made, and as handsomely as it is hand-polished, nevertheless, the Rolex bracelet is more substantial, and you will notice a difference in the hand and on the wrist. Finally, wrist presence. It doesn't have quite the stance of the Explorer 2, nor the cachet of the Rolex dial. For me, that's not a problem. I can't say whether that's an issue for you, only you can say. Moreover, Grand Seiko's warranty comes nowhere near the 5 you get from Rolex. So on that front, not parity, but again, $5,400. You'll have plenty left in the can for service. Okay. Guys, joining me from around the world, Edward Ledden of Sweden was first, Matt Foster was second, Don Rogan and Eddie Landsberg. Guys, welcome. Michael Gerard, Reed, Mozart, Langmack, PY7, guys, thank you for joining me. I can see Robert Dixon from Scotland. I can see some new names. Lyndon Erlington, Russell 996, and Old Hands, UXXV, also from Scotland, and Don Gizzle from Germany. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Okay, Dave I asks, Tim, who makes the most impressive modules for base calibers? I know that many brands offer partial in-house movements by virtue of putting their own modules on, for example, ETA or other base calibers. Okay, this is a great topic. Many alternative time displays from brands known for that are actually modular on top of base movements. Here are some leading lights, and we're going to focus on independent horology because that's where this is rife in the industry. Nord Zeitmaschine. Okay, ever heard of them? You should. They make about 30 to 50 watches a year. Daniel Nebel has been building watches under his own name since 1998, but it was 2011 with the Vario Curve, the silver dial watch on the right, that he really made his impact. Formerly a machinist, now a watchmaker who makes basically everything in-house and finishes it. He uses ETA 2824 bases because they're tough, they offer a lot of torque, they're easily serviceable, and he matches them with monstrous modules. Here are his 3 stars. Okay, the Vario Curve, released in 2011, uses a module that is entirely of his own design and finishing. You can see it's 2 wheels rotating in opposite directions, drawing that minute hand around the dial. It actually moves fast enough at certain parts of the sweep that you can actually see the minute hand moving. You'll also note flanking, there's both a date and a minute display, and then lower right hand corner, right about where 4 o'clock would be, you can actually see the hour. There's a lot going on there. Okay, now, this is a timepiece that is his first. The second, the quick indicator of 2013, is a faster moving hand. He really wanted to emphasize the movement of the minutes hand. On this one, you can almost constantly see the minute hand moving. As you can see, it dances around the dial, does crazy things. Difficult to read this one at a glance, but once you get used to it, there is an underlying logic that you can use as a heuristic for quickly gauging the time. Once again, you can see that there is an hour off to the left at the 9 o'clock side, and there is a date off to the right at the 3 o'clock side. Jumping forward to his wackiest watch yet, 2016, the Freeze Dial. This is almost like an amusement park ride in that every single piece of that dial is moving constantly when the watch is in motion. There's a lot going on here, and I believe the module has somewhere around 120 parts, all hand finished. You certainly get your money's worth, as this one features the crazy minute display, scrolling hours, and even a GMT function. Daniel Nebel, Nord Zeitmaschine, you get a lot for your money, and he doesn't make that many watches, so exclusivity is assured. Okay, a little bit more mainstream, but still upscale and still very independent. Ochs und Junior out of Lucerne, run by Ludwig Oechslin, the old complications maestro from Ulysse Nardin during the golden era of the 90s and the 2000s. So the Night Day, which you see right here, is the new release just announced, and like Nebel, Ludwig Oechslin focuses on 2824 base movements with his own modules. His own modules feature mechanisms often inspired by the astronomical clocks he used to restore for the Vatican. Those are all the parts of the Night Day right there. He likes to use user-friendly systems that are minimalist and can often be set bidirectionally. For instance, his perpetual calendar, it can be set bidirectionally. And of course, because he uses base calibers that are from ETA, almost anyone can service the base, meaning these watches will outlive the master behind them. Now, Ressence. The ROCS, the Ressence Orbital Convex System module. Right there you can see the oil-filled Type 3 Blue, a 50-piece limited series from 2016. Orbital time display is the heart and soul of each Ressence timepiece. It has been since the first bout in 2010. With a minimum of 15 jewels and 107 pieces, the ROCS module is no joke. It uses a magnetic coupling. It uses a sensational combination of independent dials to basically create a regulator like the industry has never seen. Now you can see the part that's the module, and then all the way off to the opposite side of the screen, you can see the little silver disc that's the ETA 2824. You can see how much of this is in-house watchmaking. And the Type 3 with the oil-filled dial, that one was a GPHG awardee. So this is not just a fantastic module, but it was recognized at the Oscars of watchmaking back in 2013. Now, Urwerk, yes, they're mostly a house of style, courtesy of partner Martin Fry, and modules, courtesy of their proprietor Felix Baumgartner. And the watchmaking maestro mostly builds on top of La Joux-Perret, Jacquet, Girard-Perregaux, and more recently, Zenith-based calibers. Most variations of the brand's signature Wandering Hours display, including the bonkers Black Platinum UR210 that you see right here, are in fact built on top of Zenith bases. They're built on top of Zenith Elites. So you're getting a phenomenal watch, but this is modular watchmaking at its best. And finally, I will say over the years, given all of the different movements that they've used as the base, it's a testament to the strength of their brand and their design. They always think of the module, not of the base. And this is really what independent horology is about, building on a strong foundation with something completely different. This is why I actually endorse modular movements, because frankly, it gives us the chance to see things we never otherwise would have encountered. Would you rather Felix Baumgartner spent 21 years designing an ETA 2824 alternative instead of that thing? Not I. All right. Murharam M asks, Tim, it seems you often discuss dive watches, driver's watches, and dress watches, but you rarely discuss pilot's watches. Do you dislike the category? And if not, do you have any favorites to recommend to an aviation enthusiast? All right, that's a fair point. And I'll admit that I'm kind of emotionally detached from aviation. That's likely why I rarely mention the pilot's watch category. I spent my Navy career in naval aviation public affairs, communicating the training mission, and while I admired the aviators for their skill and their courage, I never really identified with them or wanted to swap places with them. But we're going to set all that straight today, because here are three of my favorite pilot's watches for those who dream of flying or actually do so themselves. First, the Sinn EZM 10. Launched in 2011, this is a sensational example of Sinn working on a base movement and building a watch that's entirely their own. Okay, the bare bones. It appeals to me because its raw potential as a timing tool works well with my competitive instincts as a sports fan, a racing cyclist, a driving enthusiast, and a motorsports fan. 44 millimeters in nearly scratch-proof, tegimented titanium. This is basically face hardening, like holsterizing. It works, trust me. I've never seen one of these things scratched, scuffed, or gouged. Now, I will also say that I love the visibility of this watch, and 44 millimeters is a purposeful 44 here. It's not there to look big and butch on your wrist. It's there so you can read it at a glance. Now, you have a 24-hour AM/PM indicator at 3 o'clock on the dial, and this is by virtue of the Sinn-engineered SC01 movement, which also includes a radial 60-minute jumping minute hand, that little airplane-style index in orange. This is a huge modification on the 7750 base along with the 24-hour indicator. You can basically call this an in-house movement, because Sinn has also added its proprietary diamond-coated diapol unlubricated escapement, which allows the watch to keep excellent time and also allows Sinn to give you a 5-year warranty on the watch. You want more? You got it. There's a bidirectional rotating bezel that is sapphire capped. It looks gorgeous like a Blancpain 50 Fathoms, but it's there to protect the nuclear lume that makes that bezel part of the sensational lume shot of this watch. So again, whether you're flying or simply flying by night, the Sinn EZM 10 absolutely works. The watch has a replaceable copper sulfate capsule that can actively dehumidify the interior, which, by the way, comes from the factory filled with inert gas anyway, and to top it all off, 200-meter water resistance, so even if you're a seaplane pilot, this one's going to work for you. $5,380 US. I mean, that's a lot of money objectively, but that's a deal for this thing. Omega X-33. Whether you're talking the X-33-1 or the Mark II, I'm talking the 1998 to 2006 model. It was sold a little longer than that if you were in the military, but 98 to 2006, 2 generations of this watch. I adore it. 42.5 millimeters, you're getting a lot. You're getting a second time zone. You're getting a mission timer. You're getting alarms for the mission timer, time of day, a countdown timer, a chronograph, that second time zone, analog and digital display. I should mention all of that plus a complete calendar, perpetual. You want more? You got it. This one features a 70 to 80 decibel alarm and Omega lume that could be seen from space and vice versa, depending on whether you're actually in the space station or on Earth looking up. This is a sensational watch, and you can pick them up in outstanding condition for between $2,000 and $3,000 today. Now, they do have a following. This is an emerging collectible, and it's shocking to think that the first of these, built in '98, is now a 20-year-old watch. So get on top of this trend before they become expensive. Buy it on the bracelet while they're still relatively cheap, and put it on the strap. If you're like me and you prefer a strap, get it on the bracelet for the value of having the bracelet, and then put it on a strap and put the bracelet away with the box and the papers. I love this watch, and not buying this for $600 US when I was in the military. They had a military purchase program. That is one of my great regrets. That's a wonderful regret. If that's all you regret from your military service during a war, pretty good. All the same, I should have picked it up when I could, because even here, working for a watch retailer, our wholesale cost is like 3 times that. Okay, jumping forward. First, let me acknowledge the field. I can see right here, Eric Nielsen is saying he loves a 1990s Breitling Aerospace. I gotta agree. I can see Eric Nielsen also saying Breitling Avenger 2 GMT. Edward Ledden saying he loves this Omega. And Clive Watch Wrangler is mentioning that Richard Branson is a pilot, likely a reference to a previous threaded discussion in the chat box. And then High and Rising Tim, how do they do the subtitles? They're very fast and quite accurate, except they just wrote that the Zinn is made out of demented titanium. That's Google logic that I don't understand. Okay, guys, bump. My third favorite pilot's watch, we're going to go a little bit more mainstream here, but Rolex GMT Master 2. Not too mainstream, though, because I'm talking about the 16760. This was a very cool watch when it launched, and let's be honest with ourselves, guys. All cards on the table, the mid-20th century is over. Even real pilots mostly buy pilots' watches as fashion accessories for the bar or status symbols for the ready room. And among pilots' watches, nothing hits harder than a Rolex GMT Master. But resist the urge to follow the trends and just pay over list or wait 2 years for a BLNR. I love the black and blue, whether you call it the Dark Knight, the Batman, or simply unobtainable. The original GMT Master 2 is a better choice. So let's jump back to that Rolex GMT Master 2 16760. It was the first dual-time GMT Master 2. Not a Master, a Master 2. It was the first to feature sapphire. It was the first to feature the Coke bezel, and it only ever featured the Coke bezel. It was the first GMT Master to feature the white gold appliques and hands on a gloss dial base. This is an historically important watch made from 83 to 88. It also had a short run. All of these should be tritium dials if original. All of these are now vintage, and all of these are historically important. Forget the stupid vintage Paul Newmans and all that crap you see promoted and hyped to high heaven on blogs, and blogs, you know which blogs you are. This is the one to get. Well, prices are still between about $9,000 and $13,000. You're going to pay more than that for a pre-owned Batman. Why not get something that's already stood the test of time, is an emerging collectible, and is guaranteed never to lose value, even if there's another downturn. This is a watch to own, historically important, scarce, still accessible price-wise. It ticks all the boxes, and above all, it's a Rolex GMT Master. So there's more to follow. We do have a little bit more Pilot's Watch content, but first, let me acknowledge some of our viewers with their wrist shots. Guys, thank you so much for sending me your watches. Robert H. leads it off with a Pilot's Watch. What else? It is his Bremont Martin Baker 3 with bronze midcase. I was told by Nick and Giles English, who are the founders of the company, that if you're going to own just one Bremont, own a Martin Baker. Andrew K. offers a glance at his Omega Planet Ocean with a wonderful Hirsch sailcloth strap, plus his Land Rover Discovery in the background. It's a watches and wheels shot. Ben C. enjoys his very tropical dial, Omega Speedmaster Professional, circa 1969 vintage, a wonderful late pre-moon. He said that one is the 861, but it's technically a pre-moon because of the case back. Simon H. flies the friendly skies, not so much with a pilot's watch, but with a friendly companion. This is one you won't mind sitting next to you on a long flight. over the Napa Valley with his Glasuta Original Senator chronograph. All right, guys, send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. Primary feature tonight, driving with license. Which is to say, let's be honest, most car-themed luxury watches are impossible to read while driving. That's the Girard-Perregaux Enzo Ferrari. What time is it? What are you looking at? I have no idea. It looks cool, but I have no idea what I'm seeing there. Even with the hands in place, unintelligible. Even motorsports intended luxury watches suffer from this affliction. A racing machine for your wrist, says Richard Mille. Quick, Richard, what time is it on this RM11 Felipe Massa? Waiting. That's going to be loading for a while. Basically, co-branded car watches fare no better. Consider the Lamborghini-themed Blancpain Evolution series. No, I can't really read it either, and in the heat of battle, whether you're on track or simply following motorsports, that's not going to cut it. But I will say that Blancpain does offer a luxury watch that is ideally suited as a driver's companion, and it is this. Who would have thought? Back to formula. The one, the only. It's ideal for midnight at trackside because, well, let's face it, in the depths, in the dark, it's all the same. You want lume, and this 50 Fathoms delivers. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to find the best watches for an application, but we need to discard the branding, we need to discard the marketing, we need to discard the intentions of the maker in order to find the perfect match for getting behind the wheel with a watch. All of the watches that follow are my ideal driver's watches, and none were designed as such. These watches are a prescription for fun, even though we're going to be taking all of them for off-label uses. Now, let's start with a patrician, the Patek Philippe 5522A Calatrava pilot's watch. This one debuted at the New York City Grand Exhibition in July of 2017, almost exactly a year ago. 42 millimeters stainless steel, a rare no-date application of a caliber 324, 600 pieces, and very cool. I would have to say it's the closest thing you'll find to a modern Patek driver's delight. Why? Because when your club's track day fades to a track evening, Patek's got game to keep the fun rolling. As you can see, this one is livid and lovely, lighting up your night behind the wheel. This is a great driver's watch. Objectively, drivers, whether they're piloting a car or piloting a plane, have the same need. Legibility at a glance. I will say this. The late, great Mercedes-Benz R129 SL600 is my ideal drive for the Patek Philippe 5522A. It's the best of the best. This is also a future collectible, still a thrill to drive, still looks the business, and it has a timeless classicism with joie de vivre about it that matches the Patek perfectly. I have to say that this and the 5522A would be my Pacific Coast Highway driving pair. Now, IWC Big Pilot's Watch. Why? Because frankly, one instrument designed to be seen and read at a glance at high speed deserves another high-speed application. And as you can see, that watch, which is about the size of my fist or a dinner plate, is easy to view when you're driving. So whether you're piloting a Messerschmitt, as the original BR that inspired the watch probably would have accompanied, or some sort of track day special like a KTM Expo, the Big Pilot's watch simply works. Now, 46.2 millimeters and a huge watch face. This watch has also got the lume for easy reading at night. I'm also going to say that if you can't go digital, and I would prefer a digital watch overall, just go big, and it doesn't really get any bigger than this. IWC, the ideal driving environment for this timepiece would have been the other side of the coin during the Battle of Britain. Not a Messerschmitt, but we're going to go with the best of British, a Bentley Brooklands, the 2009 Bentley Brooklands Coupe. It was 4,511 millimeters long, and for those of us in the old colonies, that means it's just under 18 feet long, and it weighed well over 4,000 pounds. Hell, it approached 5,000 pounds for a two-door vehicle. So, I will say for both Bentley and Big Pilot, make mine green. And that's the 5407 Zeg and Cerlati limited edition of 20. Okay. Or you can go big and go digital with the Devon Tread 1. Warning, quartz watch, polarizing segment. That is, it's big, it's Americana, and your toddler could read the time on this one. It even reads naturally from left to right. This block of belts is so redolent of gearhead catnip that it should come as no surprise that the man behind this watch actually planned the tread as a fallback for when his stillborn Devon GTX sports car failed to come into being. That's the car. You've seen the watch. I have to say that not everyone loves the tread, but we're living by road rules, which means your car, your tunes, your radio, your rules, and if your passenger doesn't approve, he can get out and walk. With all due respect to Scott Devon's Devon GTX, the natural match for this battery-powered pioneer of California culture is going to be the original Tesla Roadster. They both have the same kind of disruptive vibe, and the watch even matches in tread 1F form, the yellow of this Tesla Roadster 2.0. Okay. A Lange Sohne Zeitwerk. No, it's not a driver's watch. In fact, this one was inspired by a 5-minute clock at a Dresden opera house. So we're about as far from the Nürburgring as you can physically get in Germany. Nürburgring and Dresden, nowhere adjacent, to say nothing of Glashütte. But it is a perfect match. We're going to let it slide. It's a perfect match for a driver's needs. Easy to read, simplicity and historically inspired aesthetics matched with fearsome complexity and modern engineering underneath the surface, which is why the vintage-inspired but very modern BMW Z8 Roadster, inspired by the vintage BMW 507, that's going to be my ideal driving companion for the Zeitwerk. It's even the right color. If you can't have green, go with black. It's slimming, and it's always in style. Okay, now, at the end, we always conclude where we started. I like to bring things full circle. Parallelism, I'm a writer, you know I love it. And we're back to the 50 Fathoms. Blancpain's eternal flame. So, you'll be hard-pressed to find a more luxurious driver that's as legible, or a more legible driver or diver that's as luxurious. But since we're pairing all of our accidental driver's watches with wheels to match, I would say an Amphicar is probably too dorky for the fabulous 50. We know we love our German cars tonight, but that's just too weird. This legendary 300-meter diver with 5-day power reserve and gorgeous hand-finished case, dewdrop-like sapphire over the bezel, and that fire-like nighttime lume deserves something dramatic with gravitas, presence, and history to match. May I recommend this for the watch with 300-meter water resistance? Made in Heaven, or Q Branch, whichever you prefer. Okay, viewer wrist shots. John D. hits the streets of New York City in a Roadster, a Cartier Roadster, and you can see the historic landmark plaque behind the Cartier Mansion in Manhattan. Win H is a man after my own heart. Envy Carbon Bike Kit and his fantastic stainless steel Ulysse Nardin Marine Annual Calendar Chronograph. These are a bargain in complications. Black Dial, the best choice. I'll also say Win doubles up with his Engine Cycles Titanium Custom, purchased locally at Wissahickon Cyclery in Philadelphia, with his Titanium IWC GST Chronograph purchased at the Watchbox. And Ball Y, longtime supporter, takes us home with his epic Patek Philippe 5270G perpetual calendar chronograph. What a way to put an exclamation mark on a fun night, and he even color coordinated his sleeve and his pants. Ball, well done. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. Guys, thank you. Everyone who joined me tonight. Comment in the chat below if you watched this recorded. I always read the comments and I try to respond, and if you commented in the chat box, I always read that after the fact, even if I couldn't respond live. Guys, subscribe if you hadn't, and remember, you can follow me, Tim_Mosso, as soon as the show ends on Instagram. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to my crew. We've got a new hand on board. I welcome everyone who joins, everyone who will join tomorrow on Watches Live, where we're going to start giving away that Audi Urus. And finally, I'm Tim. This is Watchbox Studios. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on.